Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Diana, and on this channel I try to share with you tips and tricks for things that I have learned along the way in my quilting journeys. I'm not a professional, but I certainly have learned a lot, and I hope that the things that I share with you are able to help you along your quilting journey. So let's go ahead and let's get started with today's episode. Okay, so if you've been following along, I have been working on several different quilt blocks over the past few months. These quilt blocks represent a sampler pattern, all of which have something to do with stars. And for the patriotic colors, I'm going to title this quilt A Soldier's Journey. So I'm going to leave a link to the playlist below so that if you want to learn how to do all of these other blocks, you are welcome to do so at your leisure. What we're going to talk about today is the finished product. So I did an episode recently about how to put in the sashing. And I did not do a recording on how to do the borders because I really did the borders very much like I did the sashing. I gathered my measurements, measured twice, cut once, and then I put the borders on. But for this quilt, I did put a small inner border here, 2-inch, and then all of those 6-inch minis that accompanied each one of these blocks, I put them in a pieced border as my secondary border. So all around the quilt, you'll see minis for each one of these blocks. Now, there weren't enough minis to accommodate a full border, so I took a whole bunch of the scraps that I got from all of the cuttings that I did, all of the extra little blocks that may have come out of half-square triangles or something like that, where I learned that if you just add an extra stitch a half an inch away from your first stitch, you could cut right down the middle and maybe get a half-square triangle for free and just a little bit smaller. I like those. They make it easier to do the next project. So I just want to show you a couple of them. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. So here, this is one of those very blocks. I had a whole bunch of little half-square triangles at 1 inch from one, and then I just added scraps. I cut squares where I could, and I just added them into a bunch of other small 6-inch blocks. So this border here, this middle border, that measures 6 inches. And then I have one final 2-inch border along the outside to frame that. What I wanted to do with this quilt is I wanted to highlight the blocks themselves. So in the sashing video, I show you how I put on the sashing so each one of these blocks would stand out on their own. And then I also wanted to showcase the minis. So I think that your eye can go to anywhere on the quilt and focus on one thing, and your eye can appreciate the effort and energy that went into the quilt blocks. Now, some of these quilt blocks did not have a 12-inch. So for example, the house quilt blocks, the little 6-inch house minis. So in A Soldier's Journey, you might think about how the soldier grew up at home. You might think about the honor he gives to his country and the flag. And you might also think about there's a church quilt block in here. Maybe a soldier gets married, or maybe a soldier pays their ultimate sacrifice. It is a soldier's journey nonetheless. So with many of these quilt blocks, they were a journey for me. This one right here, this little mini, is a representation of a quilt block that apparently is out of view. But if we look at this particular quilt block, we can see that there are 1-inch split quarter square triangles. That was a lot to do, but it was a lot of fun. These small quilt blocks helped me develop some of those fine-tuned attention to detail Not every point matches, but that's okay. No star is perfect. So if you've been following along as I made each one of these quilt blocks, I hope that these quilt blocks inspired you and that you were able to put them in a project that was filled with as much love and desire and excitement as this quilt has done for me. From the bottom of my heart, I really want to thank everyone for following along, for all of the encouraging comments. I am truly humbled and I am excited to do some more. Now, a little tidbit, I had some issues with my sewing machine. It was in the hospital for a while. I was able to get the sewing machine back so that I could finish the project. So those of you that have subscribed and been patiently waiting for me to finish this quilt, thank you very much. Now what is left? We have still to make a quilt sandwich, put together a backing, and then bind this quilt. So I look forward to the next quilting journey, and I hope you join me. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching.